So my name is Andre Casterman. I'm Chief Marketing Officer at Intix. Intix is the leading transaction data management company. We serve global banks to help them transform transaction data into a competitive advantage, basically.
Fantastic. Now, are regulators putting too much pressure on banks around transaction reporting times, or is this a necessary step for the more robust processing?
Yeah, regulators have been very active since definitely the financial crisis, but now they are really becoming very innovative, basically. The types of requirements and the types of transactions they want to get information on from the banks are the requirements they express are more and more complex. So it's not just about all transactions above 10K USD, for instance. It's much more fine in terms of selection criteria, and the banks really want to automate. They have already automated a lot of those processes, but now they need to pull much more data from other systems to be able to address those regulatory requirements. So that's really what we see in the market, and we always said the banks need to get that data in order, and Intix providing technology for that for sure. But now it's not only about getting your data in order, it's also about linking data sets within the bank in order to be able to address those regulatory requirements. So this is why Intix launched at Sibos xCOMPLY, which is basically a way to correlate data sets mainly on payments, and basically address the regulatory reporting requirements, but also the investigations that banks have to perform following requests from indeed financial intelligence units.
Thank you. So what challenges are financial institutions facing now with the increase in transaction volume and speed?
So we've talked about real-time payments since many years, but most of the innovations have been done at domestic level. Now the trend is definitely to offer corporates and retail clients real-time payments at cross-border level. It's far more complex given you're crossing jurisdictions, you have a chain of correspondent banks, and this is where basically the pressure on payments operations teams is increasing, and where they really want to reach a level of operational excellence by tracking those activities, those payments within their internal systems. So this is where Intix has developed xTrace, where basically we're helping banks to know in real time what is happening within their own infrastructure in order to identify incidents that in real time, potentially on real-time payments or on batch payments as well, so that they can really react to any glitches within their own systems or any SLAs that might not be met, and really proactively react to make sure the client is not impacted, basically.
Fantastic. Why do banks struggle to structure their transaction data, and what can financial institutions do better to know their transactions?
Yeah, the real challenge is very technical. So the banks have complex internal systems, and the complexity comes from the fact that with all those new regulatory requirements, but also client needs, the banks have added systems, sanction screening systems, new portals, new interfaces to new channels. It's not just about SWIFT, of course. There are many new channels, even at cross-border level, and basically the internal systems and this environment is quite complex. Now, in order for them to perform searches on transactions, deliver reports to regulators or to clients or internal teams, they need really to be able to access multiple systems, but also to correlate data sets so they have an end-to-end view on those transactions. And that's where Intix xTrail fits the need, because with xTrail we're going to be able to indeed pull and index transactions from multiple systems if transactions are processed in various systems, and also provide a navigation capability so that searching, reporting is done as easily as we do every day on Google, for instance. So that's really the challenge that the banks are facing, is really accessing and correlating data sets so they have an end-to-end view on those transactions.
Brilliant. And how can transaction data be contextualized and remain compliant with regulatory demands?
Yes, indeed, that's a very important point we have worked on over the last 9 months, and this week at Sibos we launched xCOMPLY, our new capability to go deeper into the existing systems. So once you have the transaction data, in some cases, and mainly on the compliance side, but also on the client service side, you need more data on the counterparties, which corporate is this, which are the details around the CDD, the client due diligence, the KYC information, or the ultimate beneficiary owner, or what have been the latest screening hits or the compliance events on the two parties involved in this payment transaction. So basically, going deeper into the internal systems, getting more insights to the compliance officer is really what we enable with xCOMPLY in order to address that need for increased visibility. And we often say every data counts in investigations, because you're looking for something suspicious, or you're checking whether there is something suspicious. So you need more data sets on the transactions, on the counterparties, and an easy navigation across those. And that's what we enable now with xCOMPLY.
Brilliant. And finally, if financial institutions were to utilize more structured data, wouldn't the time it takes to collate that data clash with the inflow of transactions coming in? And how are these factors reconciled?
Yes, the move to real time is obvious, and not only serving clients on real-time payments, but also giving access to the transaction details via portals in real time, because the clients also want to know where their payment is in the correspondent banking chain, for instance. So that's where basically we are providing all those data sets to not only internal teams within the banks, but also to external parties, the clients of the banks. Now, the pressure is indeed very high, because the volumes are increasing. Certainly on cross-border level, but also the amount of data handled to process payments is increasing. Also, the regulators are now asking banks to, or mandating the need to keep records of, for instance, compliance-related events. When was this transaction screened? On the basis of which lists? What has been, who has performed or who has decided on this particular screening hit, who has approved this transaction. So all of those events on a particular single transaction have to be recorded, kept for long term, in the long-term archive, so that indeed forensic investigations, so later we can always go back to this data to understand what has happened and has any fraud happened on this transaction. So the real-time pressure is there, the volumes are increasing, not only of payments, but also all of this data that has to be kept. And we could think about additional data sets that will increase also the volume of information being handled. On the ESG side, for instance, more and more ESG scoring data will have to be processed sooner or later for compliance reasons as well. So definitely new technologies are required. And on the Intix side, that's really our specialty, to be able to offer this searching, this linking of data sets, this tracking of data sets of transactions, so that basically compliance and operations teams mainly can perform their functions, their job as efficiently as possible.
That's brilliant. Thank you so much.
Thank you.